To be in the restaurant industry, especially today, you gotta be tough. That's a fact. You need to have the stamina that's required to take a beating at any given moment. And it can come from any direction. Short-staffed on a Saturday night, broken mixer, supply chain problems. It helps to be tough. But make no mistake, the kind of tough I'm talking about is not the same as the quote-unquote tough chefs on reality TV. In my opinion, it doesn't make you tough to yell at or degrade someone, and I'm not an advocate of treating people harshly in the kitchen. The kind of tough I'm referencing is mostly mental. The self-discipline to stay positive despite what's going wrong in the moment. But even knowing all of that, that's a human nut. I'm having a tough time understanding what any of this has to do with cooking. As a chef, I need to stay curious in order to evolve. For me, that means looking beyond a good meal to learn more about who made it and what inspires them to cook.
La comida es amor.
Every great city has great food. I'm going on a journey around the world, right here in St. Louis. I'm on a quest to find passionate chefs who cooks from the heart.
It's exciting. And I think it's the best.
To prove that food is love. It's gonna be delicious. Food is love. Love your food. Today I'm in the Fox Park neighborhood of St. Louis to meet Chef Logan Eli. Logan is the chef and owner of Lucky Accomplice, and if you haven't already heard of this place, you will. They call it modern American bar food, or elevated locally driven fare. But whatever you want to call it is really secondary to the experience here. Hopefully we'll get to that later. For now, Logan has asked me to meet him here at Wrestle, a gym located in Fox Park, just around the corner from his restaurant. When he's not working in the kitchen, Logan practices jiu-jitsu with some of his staff, both as an exercise in team building and personal development. This is where you get all your aggressions out of all the problems we have in the restaurant business?
In a way, yeah. I mean, I think jiu-jitsu is fairly new to me. I've only been doing it a couple years, but it's definitely been a huge part of me as a person, impacted me as a person and as a chef, and just therapeutic in a way. You know,
okay.
I don't think for me, it's not as much about getting aggressions out, but as it's more
discipline?
Not even that, really. It's just classes, especially for me, since I'm new, are very uncomfortable. And I think it's almost like that self-prescribed being comfortable with being uncomfortable. You know, it's like cooking. I mean, you know, cooking, to be a pretty good cook, you got to cook for a good decade, right? So like I'm very new. I think it's calmed me down a lot. Like I will admit I used to have a pretty good temper, like most chefs do. It's just it's been therapeutic, I think, physically and mentally, and just kind of taking care of myself in that way has been positive for sure.
But I mean, do you have to be in great shape, or?
No, anybody can do it.
I mean, you look like you're in shape. I mean, I have the dad bod.
Yeah, I think that works. You know, all we're doing is wrestling in pajamas. So, for me, what struck me about the gym that I go to, and I think, you know, martial arts in general probably, is just there's so much patience and kindness, and everybody's helping each other, and everybody's welcoming and hospitable, and that is often not the case in kitchens. You know, there's a lot of times not a lot of patience in kitchens, and either you get it or you don't, and we're moving on, and all that. But the dynamic at the gym I go to is very different, and it's made me a better chef and leader, I think. Just like learning how to like cultivate that culture of people caring and people being patient and people like helping one another and like respect and all that stuff. And like I said, I think I lost a lot of my temper once I started doing this, because I wanted that. Like I wanted my kitchens and I wanted my restaurants to be a place where it's kind and people are helping, and it's this like awesome culture of patience and hospitality, like real hospitality.
After hearing all the ways jiu-jitsu has been a positive force for Logan, as a person and in the kitchen, I'm eager to see if it's a tool I can use. Maybe I can level up my own mental stamina. I mean, we should never stop improving ourselves, right? My dad was a wrestling champion in Denmark.
Oh, wow.
Like Roman Greco.
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, there was that one time, you know, where I was strong and I thought I could take him. And he said, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. He put me in some kind of chokehold and swung me around.
Yeah.
And I never questioned whether or not he could, you know, take me after that.
Yeah.
And but I remember him. I think he hurt a muscle or something in the back because he was hurting too for a long time. But I mean,
that's funny.
You know, it was just a lovable thing. But it was you know, I had no idea how good he was. So what's going to happen to me today? What are we doing?
Yeah, we're gonna put some fashionable pajamas on you like we did, and then me and the guys will roll a little bit, I think, and then maybe we'll choke you a little bit with your pajamas and toss you around maybe just slightly and keep it playful. I think that's what it's all about.
All right. Almost immediately, I'm seeing this is going in a direction I didn't anticipate. How did I get into this position? Literally. Better yet, how am I gonna get out? This isn't what I had imagined. Obviously, knowing nothing about jiu-jitsu, I assumed I was gonna be learning a couple of arm grabs, maybe some kind of little foot move to trip an opponent. Something more flashy, maybe a little less choky. Okay. Yeah, I'm fine.
So that's a good one too, because you're kind of getting stretched back. And and this is
I like the stretching part. It was the choking part I weren't crazy about. But as the blood is being cut off from my brain and my ribs teeter on the edge of being separated, I'm reminded of what they say about assuming. But still, I'm trying to understand the value in this. Okay, I've seen enough. I'm pretty much getting it now and I'm tapping out. At least you can say I tried. I'm happy you take ownership for some of those violent outbursts and temper, because us European chefs, we've always been blamed for that. You know? Throwing pots and pans and all that stuff.
It's, and I think when I was younger, even, it's like I personally looked up to that. Like I wanted to be, and I was also encouraged to be, you know, like crack the whip and keep the tensions high and all that kind of stuff.
This is much more than a gym, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. This is Sarah Levin. She runs the day-to-day operation here at Wrestle. They have created a program to use wrestling as a way to mentor youth.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So Wrestle is a non-profit youth wrestling club. We were founded in 2015, opened in 2016 in a different location. We focus a lot on the mentorship of the sport and what wrestling brings to kids. So we're trying to reach kids through sport and give them character traits like discipline, resilience, and commitment and respect through the sport of wrestling.
It's nice to see other people using their influence for positive. I'd love to stay longer, but after what just happened to me here, I think I need a drink. A big Fox Park cheerleader, Logan knows a place down the street to get us a good smoothie. That was a fun little jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a good way for you to bond with your employees too. So I mean, you got them involved.
Yeah, I just saw how beneficial it is, and I tried to talk everybody into it, and I got a few people to come, so that's good.
You know, I think that's a very healthy exercise.
It's also good to give people the chance and ability to have time outside of the restaurant to pursue, whether it's jiu-jitsu or, you know, whatever.
My generation didn't do much trying to get people to exercise and be healthy.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it was more like, let's go and have a drink.
Yeah, so this is Fox Park Smoothie and Juice Bar. I'll do a Shenandoah Sunrise. I think that's what I had last time. All right. Or we can have cake too. It's a great way to start the day. There's a lot of Fox Park that is, you know, like this big building up here is vacant. there's a few of those, but there's also like, it seems like every few months there's new stuff like this popping up. I also think it's really cool, like Rung right here, and then Wrestle, which we were just at. They're both nonprofits helping groups of people that are in need, and it's like, that's pretty awesome, I think. Awesome, thank you, sir. Little umbrella, gigantic straw.
So, tell me, how did you get into the restaurant business? Where did it all start?
Lack of options after high school. I didn't have money for college really, or this like a big university. Wasn't interested in taking out giant student debt, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do anyway. Somebody had suggested Forest Park.
Yeah.
They have a great culinary program. I just decided to do it, and I just kind of got sucked into the regiment that is the kitchen, and I just.
What I think the word is you fall in love with it.
Yeah, you could say that. Oh my God, look at this. Here's your dessert.
I'm not gonna eat all of that, am I? Yeah, that's what you do around here.
Well, that is hilarious. You get a fork.
One fork.
I'll get the other one.
Oh my God. I was always around cooks, you know, in my family, everybody cooked, and just decided to give it a shot and immediately fell in love with it. And everything from there was just me trying to find, I wanted to be the dumbest person in the room, which isn't hard to do when you first start cooking. So I just was traveling and trying to find cooks and chefs better, and better and better and better, and trying to learn as much as I could. And
So have you been outside the United States?
yeah, I was in Hong Kong for a little bit. I was
Hong
in
Kong.
Copenhagen for a little bit.
Copenhagen, now we're talking.
Yeah, right.
What is it about St. Louis that brought you back here?
I think first of all, St. Louis is my home, you know, and I wanted to help kind of continue the already great trajectory of St. Louis restaurants. You know, I think that when I was younger, it's like you thought you had to open a restaurant in New York or in Chicago or a big city like that, and now I think more and more cooks are realizing that that's not the case really. You can open, you know, there's great restaurants in smaller cities all over the US, and I think that that's really cool to see, is just like this great food trends and great communities of chefs kind of banding together and creating their own culture within their hometowns. And I think that's really awesome, and I think St. Louis is an amazing chef culture and camaraderie and all of that, and so I'm humbled to be a part of it, really.
You're not having any cake? Am I the only one?
Oh wow, I didn't even realize that you
I dug a hole over here. That's good.
Oh man.
I'm really liking jiu-jitsu now. If this is how we refuel cake and smoothie.
Yeah, that's how we do it. Smoothies and cake after jiu-jitsu. That's hilarious.
This place was a real surprise. There's a pretty good chance I'll be back again. Maybe for the cake, maybe for a smoothie, maybe both. It's not double dipping if we are working on a separate hole.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're only another quick stroll through the neighborhood from the Lucky Accomplice, and Logan shows us a shortcut through the garden of Rung.
And this garden is like crazy.
But talk about community service in this area here, down here, huh?
Yeah.
Don't mind us, just a couple of guys carrying a half-eaten cake through the neighborhood. There's a metaphor there, which I haven't figured out yet.
What are these guys? Oh, peppers? Yeah, see, there's a lot of vacant spots around here, which to me,
it's opportunity.
It means potential and opportunity.
You heard the term a cakewalk?
Yeah.
This is the epitome of a cakewalk right here.
Fox Park, man, that's a cakewalk.
Yeah. Smells good already. Finally, this is what I came for in the first place. The aesthetic of this relatively intimate space is upscale, but hip and a little humorous, with a clear rabbit motif echoing the name and maybe the philosophy of the restaurant. But what's in a name exactly? Oh, out here when we came in, there's a rabbit, and you have a rabbit on your t-shirt.
The bunny thing kind of started with the Lucky Rabbit's Foot, right?
And in most of these bunny paintings and murals, there's like stitches on the paw of the bunny, or in one instance, the bunny has a human foot for luck around its neck. And so it's kind of like switching that narrative of like humans going out and cutting off little bunny feet for luck.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not how this works.
The dishes at Logie Accomplice is an impressive display of savvy. Beautiful colors, sauces, glazes, and fermented concoctions, all used to accentuate food that Logan sources locally. When you're getting your goods in the local market, that means the menu can change with the seasons.
It also presents its own kind of challenges. It's like, you know, you're constantly, what I say, freestyling in a way. You're like shooting from the hip a bit,
Yeah.
which I think is just good to keep you sharp and to kind of keep innovating and forced creativity.
Yeah.
You know, if eggplant is really, they're everywhere right now, it's like we need to figure out something with eggplant, guys. Like we gotta, you know, we have to figure this out because the farm has a lot. We want to support the farm. We want to buy all this stuff. So that's the idea. You know, it's creativity based around using the product that the farmers have instead of like trying to think of something that is like, you know, cool or show-stopping or trendy or whatever. You know, we try to have this section of mise en place that's shelf-stable, or a larder, you might say, that we can just pick and choose from. It's like, you know, this is a mushroom shoyu that we made from really nice wheat. You know, we cultured it with koji and different mushrooms and aged it at a certain temperature, and now we have this to pull from and to add salt to something without adding salt, right?
Yeah.
Or add acid to something without adding vinegar or lemon juice or citrus or something like that. So we try to have this kind of like back pocket thing that I think that comes with a little bit of just having to shoot from the hip and kind of freestyle the menu so often. So this is a paste of white beans and yeast. We use either dry yeast that we toast and fry, and just to add some umami, and this will be the base. And this is our pasta shape that we extruded here. It's, you know, we make it with black trumpet mushrooms. There's some roasted mushrooms in here too with Swiss chard. We glaze it with the mushroom shoyu and mushroom stock, and just kind of place this on here.
The creativity and the complexity behind these dishes is incredible. Watching the plating, knowing what's going into the components, I have to say I can't wait to sit down and try them myself. But at the same time, I'm completely hypnotized, waiting to see what wonderful dish happens next.
We take fresh yeast and dry it, and then fry it in oil, and it's kind of cool. It stays crunchy, and we'll add some umami to the dish as well. Just like roasted up oysters or whatever our mushroom grower has at the time, and just top it with some herbs. Try to keep it simple so it looks nice.
It looks delicious.
So this is actually grits that we puree and then charge. Sometimes this explodes, just FYI.
Okay.
But so it's light, still tastes like corn, but also is just, light and airy. These are maitake mushrooms that we confit and then roast. And then we glaze in this mixture of malt and soy. We usually finish this one with seaweed too, because why not? Seaweed's a little bit like our pepper.
Okay.
Like everybody puts salt and pepper on everything, which is fine. We put pepper in some stuff too, but it's like salt and umami. You know.
Yeah.
This, it's super, super simple. There's two components, but something that doesn't necessarily need to be overcomplicated.
Of course, the food is unbelievable. Well, I mean, if martial arts had anything to do with what you did today, it's doing good for you. It's very good. It's very disciplined. Wow, it's beautiful.
I appreciate that. We try to keep things simple.
It's very optimistic what you're doing, because the stress level working in the restaurant business is really something that is damaging for our health, that we got to do something about that.
Yeah, it's not balanced and it's not sustainable for sure. And I think it's important to relay that to like your cooks, because as a young cook, you're also never really taught about like the financial aspect of running a business. Like, what kind of money do you expect to make when you are a cook or a chef or run your own business, and how to like become financially stable and free if possible, and to be a good business person and become a good entrepreneur. You know, that's not talked about, and your health isn't really talked about, your mental health too, and physical health and all that stuff. And so it's important to it's just important to do that.
And I like the whole idea about how you are conscientious about what you cook, and you know, conscientious about preserving Mother Nature, and you know, it speaks to, you know, that food is love.
Yeah.
But you know, all the things, all the ingredients that goes into that love needs to be loved too.
Yeah, it's an interesting, like, you're right, exactly. Like, food is love, like sharing culture and joining in a meal with people, and like all that stuff is great, and I love it. I think we need to pay a little bit more attention to what the food is that we're using, you know, like how are the animals being treated, you know? What fish are you using? How is it being fished, you know? Did a boat have to trawl the bottom of the ocean and ruin the ocean for you to get that piece of fish on your plate? If so, then like that's not really food is love, right? If your cooks are getting paid minimum wage and working 100-hour weeks and are stressed out and like, you know, coping with alcohol and drugs and stuff, like that's not food, that's not love, like that's, you know what I mean? So I think it's we need to look at it as a way more holistic thing, as one.
We got to live in harmony, not only with each other, but also with nature.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
At first, I found it a little hard to see how jiu-jitsu would have any positive effect on a chef's mindset. True, it takes discipline to run a restaurant, and leadership skills, quick thinking, the ability to navigate less than ideal situations, but surely there's other less painful ways to learning those things. Admittedly though, after spending some time with Logan, watching him cook, seeing how he's mindful about food sourcing, I can't help but think it's like the Greek Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, the circumstances don't make the man, they only reveal him to himself. Logan's philosophy about responsible food sourcing, creating his dishes with whatever is in season, hasn't inhibited his creativity. In fact, you can argue that it sharpened it.
When Larry Forgione had a restaurant in St. Louis, that was one of the things that struck me. You know, he said that as a cook, you have to go to the market or go to the farm and then write a menu. You don't write a menu and then go to the market or farm, you know, because if you're just using what's available. And so I always tried to seek out restaurants that had that similar philosophy.
It's encouraging to see how, as a chef, Logan is using his position as a platform to mentor, develop, and inspire the next wave of St. Louis restaurateurs.
I learned hospitality where a place where violence is taught, and I learned my temper in a way where in a place where hospitality is taught. You know, that's a very interesting kind of thing that I've like realized, and I'm continuing to look at.
There's no longer room for an aggressive kitchen culture in today's world. The kind of culture Logan is cultivating in his restaurant is a good example on how we should be doing things going forward. One of the things that really inspired me about Logan was how he put vegetables on the center stage. We made some beet chips, there's a little blue cheese arugula, orange slices, and then we've made a blue cheese sauce, so this is just a little appetizer. In more than one way, food is love. Jiu-jitsu, I'm not so sure about.
is a token from Fox Park Smoothie. We give fruit to everybody passing if they purchase or not, because it's one thing that everybody has in common: you must eat. If you have the money or not, we pass it out to the people that's in the neighborhood, because that's part of the neighborhood that brings the neighborhood together, eating together and sharing in the community.